we are
So
facing?
I'll tell you what I did in my life. I faced a dilemma. So I said first till age 44, and I thought I'd succeeded much earlier, but I was very too optimistic. It, at age 44, I switched from the first goal to the second goal. So I first pursued trying to beat them at their game, win, create corporate success, create businesses, get into technology, and not have to worry about security and whatnot. And then at the peak of that success, I decided, okay, I really don't want to do that. And people thought he must be joking, but I gave up, and I really never in my heart had turned into that. I was just wanting to do it so that I can get out of it. And then I said, okay, I'll spend the rest of my life, which has been 17 years now, making my own universal. Now I'll make the rules. I'll live by how I feel like. I'm not dependent on anybody. Now, this is not always available. So you could argue that India as a nation must do both games. India as a nation has to play by the rules of universalism in order to have GDP, in order to have material resources which have been drained out, in order to have technology, science, innovation, all these great things. But India should also invest a huge amount in its preserving its civilization, the way Chinese are not giving up their civilization. The English is being adopted, but only as a second language. They're not shutting down Mandarin. That is their mother tongue. The French are sure that you have to learn French first. The Russians make sure you learn Russian first. Japanese, same way. So we have to create some mechanisms to preserve our civilization, reimagine our civilization, not the colonial version that we have been taught, but what we think of ourselves. This should be an investment in parallel with those industries who are going at high GDP. We need that also. So I would say we need to do both.
We need to do both. I think that's interesting formulation that you are giving.
In my life, I did one and then the other. I could not do both. So I said I'll do one, then quit completely. Absolutely, I don't have one day of work on or one iota of interest or involvement for 17 years in any for-profit activity, professional activity. I'm just full-time scholar in what I call the Indian humanities. But India as a nation can't do one first and then the other, because if you do only the high GDP, and you neglect the other, it may disappear. So we have to do both in parallel.
That I think is an interesting formulation. But